Hi, my creative peeps. It's Craftin Just Because with Chris Cowan. And today we are playing with the Dressed to Impressed bundle. Actually, I've been playing with it all week. And today's project, we're going to make a little, either a gift box or a box that you can put our 3x3 note cards in that came with this suite of product. Those note cards look like this. So they have, you know, like a dash of pink or some yellow on them or some purple. And they also came with some coordinating envelopes. So it's up to you what you want to do with those. But today I'm going to show you how to make the gift box for them. So you first want to start off with a piece of cardstock that is 7.5 by 11 inches long. And we're going to need to bring in our paper trimmer. So I'm going to go ahead and get my paper trimmer out. And let me move this over so you guys can see it all. Okay, so on the 11-inch side, the long side, we want to score it at 3.5. So I'm going to go ahead and put it at 3.5. At 5.25. 5.25, 8.75, and 10.5. I apologize I don't have a sample for this. I did gift it already, so that was my bad. Okay, on the 7.5-inch side, we're going to score it at 1.75. And if you've never followed me before, just a reminder that all the directions and measurements will be listed on my blog, which will be in this video link. Okay, so we had 1.75, and now we're going to go to 5.25. And then to 7. Okay, so we can get rid of our paper trimmer. Now you're going to want to bring in your bone folder. This is an important tool, especially if you make a lot of 3D projects like I do. And you're going to want to burnish all those score lines. And what that means is you're going to fold it where the score line is that we just made, and you're going to run your bone folder across that crease. And what that does is that breaks down the fibers that are in the paper and makes a nice crisp edge for folding when we're doing our projects. I'm using seafoam green cardstock because I thought it coordinated well with the well Dressed to Impress Designer Series paper. Okay, so now that we have all of our fold lines burnished, I'm going to come in with some my paper snips. So this is the bottom. The 1/2 inch here is the top. On the bottom, you want to cut up on each of those score lines to that first score line. So we're going to cut up, and I'm going to wedge this little square just to make it easier when we fold in the box. So I'm just going to cut a tiny little sliver off the little square there. Then I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to cut up the score line. I'm going to wedge it out. I'm going to cut up the score line, and I'm going to wedge it out. Okay, so that's what your bottom, well, hold on. And then you're going to snip this little funky rectangle off. So I'm going to come into the other rectangle above it and go at an angle. And that's what your bottom's supposed to look like. Okay. Now for the top, we are going to cut off most of that 1/2 inch gap. So we're going to tab this edge, and I'm actually going to cut off those 2 small pieces right there. So you're left with just this tab. Okay. Now I'm going to come to this next score line and we're going to cut those 2 boxes off. So I'm going to cut right on the score line and I'm going to cut these 2 boxes off. Okay. Now we're going to skip this whole rectangle and we're going to cut these 4 boxes off. Because that's just our flap to close our box. Okay, so that's what you're left with. Now at this point, what you can do is you could either round the corners on this little flap, or I just go ahead and wedge them. So I go from the score line up and do the same thing on that side. So we tabbed it again. So it's easy to fold in and out, okay? Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna add some tear and tape to this 1/2 inch strip. Just like that. But before we put it together, I am going to also layer some paper on there. So I'm going to take our glimmer paper and I cut a piece that's 3 1/4 by 3 1/4 and I'm going to layer that right onto the middle. And then I took a piece of the Dress to Impress designer series paper and cut it 3 by 3. And we're going to just layer that on top of that. I think that's gorgeous. Okay. Then we are going to take the, one of the pieces that comes in the dies and I'm going to stamp using, crushed curry. I'm sorry. Kindness is always in style. So first let's go ahead and layer these together. And I'm going to use my liquid multi-purpose glue, especially for this glimmer paper so that that designer series paper sticks to it. And I think this is kind of a fun project to make and to give to somebody right about now. I know that everywhere in the world we're kind of going through some craziness, and I think everybody can use just a little extra cheer right now. So I'm not going to make the little note cards for this one. Like I said, they do fit in there and I'll show you that they fit in there, but I think I'm going to put a little sweet little gift or treat in that one. So you just got to let that sit for just a moment while that dries. And then I'm going to go ahead and flip over my little tag and I'm going to add some dimensionals on here. And I accidentally grabbed my minis before I decided to do this video. So that's what I'm going to go ahead and use. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'll take the release paper off the back of that. And I'm just going to stick that in the bottom corner. Okay, now we're going to put this box together. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to flap that over. I'm going to take my take a pick tool and I'm going to take that release paper off. And I'm going to flap that over and press down. And now we're going to work on the bottom of the box. And so what I'm going to do is, just because I don't have my tear and tape out, it's up to you what tape or adhesive you use. But I'm going to go ahead and put a little bit of multi-purpose liquid glue on these little tabs. And I'm going to fold the back in first. So the one that doesn't have the designer series paper, I'm going to fold that one in first. And then I'm going to flap over the top after I put some adhesive on it. That way the front has a nice clean finish, and I'll show you that when we are all done. So see how there's just, it's a continuous fold. There's no creases or edges. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to open that up and I'm going to just run my bone folder over that. And I would do this for any glue that I use, just to make sure that it's nice and sturdy. Okay, and then you just push in your flap like that. And I'm going to take some ribbon here. So I've got some of this petal pink ribbon, and I'm just going to tie it around the outside, just like this. Whoops. Push that in. So just like that. So there's our little gift box. Now let me show you something really quick. I didn't tie that tight because I didn't want to put a gift in it. But so your note cards will fit in there. I did 6 envelopes in my other one and 6 note cards, and I was going to show you how nicely they fit in there. So see, there's plenty of room, and then you could just shut it up and seal it up. So I appreciate you guys joining me today. I hope you had fun seeing the projects that I created with this Dress to Impress suite. And until next time, I will see you guys next week. Bye-bye.